Today, we are pulling back the curtain on something massive happening in Israel. It's our deep state in action. Yes, Israel has a deep state, just like the one President Trump, please God, January 20th, is fighting to expose and dismantle in the United States. What's a deep state? I've spoken about this before, but Trump's nomination for FBI Director, Kash Patel, explains it very well.
An apolitical entity that operates in government to service itself instead of the American people. And what I mean by that is it's leadership positions across government, whether it's DOJ, FBI, DOD, CIA, whatever, combined with underlying positions that are pretty senior up, who work with mainstream media entities to perpetuate frauds on the American people, to commit government corruption, and to stay in power and to lie to the American people and to rob them of the truth. That is the singular purpose of the deep state, because they think once the truth gets out, their corruption is going to be exposed. They might get prosecuted for breaking the law. And once that happens, you have an explosion in D.C.
So right now in Israel, the Attorney General and a team of armed police officers arrested a senior official of the prison authority in the middle of the road. Literally like a movie scene, with cars cutting him off and surrounding him with guns out. This senior prison official has he's the top of the whole prison system in Israel. He has his own security team. And this almost created a horrible friendly fire accident, since the senior official and his security team thought that they were being attacked by a gang of armed terrorists in the middle of the road. Thankfully, no shots were fired. But his detention and this arrest was just insane. All that was needed was for the Attorney General's office to call the guy and tell him to come in for a questioning. But the Attorney General chose to use the shock and fear approach instead. Well, this was only one of the senior police prison authority officials detained and investigated during the past few days by the Attorney General. The second person was a senior police official in charge of the police station in Samaria. So what is going on? Well, Israeli columnist Gadi Taub posted an explanation yesterday. And just understand, Gadi Taub was one of the founders of the very, very political left organization called Peace Now. Well, Gadi then woke up to the lies of the whole political left, and he became one of the most prominent voices on the Israeli right today, calling out the lies and hypocrisy of the political left and the deep state that he was once very much a part of supporting. So here is the backstory that Gadi Taub posted, dealing with the arrests and interrogations and detentions of these two major figures. And he writes as follows, quote, "During the last year, Minister of Internal Security Itamar Ben-Gvir changed the policy in prisons of pampering terrorist security prisoners in Israeli jails. It might sound crazy, but this policy overturns years of a policy pushed by the Israeli Secret Service to pamper these horrible terrorists in jail, with extensive shower times, extensive times in the courtyard, extensive rights to watch television or to study for university degrees, and even to receive freshly baked pizzas and foods every day. So Minister Ben-Gvir found it intolerable that the worst of the worst terrorists, our Islamo-Nazi enemies, all with Jewish blood on their hands or involved in terror attacks, were given such cushy conditions in Israeli prisons. So as minister in charge, he instituted a policy to change those conditions, and the prison service followed his lead, since he sets policy. This made the Secret Service furious, since the prison service were no longer following their deep state orders. On top of that, Minister Ben-Gvir also ordered the police in Samaria to change their priorities and spend more time dealing with stopping terrorists, because there's a lot of terror, instead of chasing after Jews based on cooked up cases by the Secret Service itself. This also made the Secret Service livid, because no longer were these two operations of the legal authorities listening to them. Two legal outfits that both used to follow the orders of the deep state stopped following them. And Gadi Taub summarizes, so who is suddenly being summoned for questioning in the most absurd and even dangerous ways by the Attorney General? Those two senior officials, the superintendent of the prison service, Gundar Kobi Yacobi, and the commander of the police in Samaria, Chief Avishai Moelim. By chance, the two who followed the government minister's policy changes instead of that was used to be led by the Secret Service and the Attorney General's office. Just by chance, these two became suspects. What a heartening coincidence, ends Gadi Taub. So these two officials being called in for interrogations. Oh, and they went back to their jobs at the end of the day of full days of interrogations. That signifies the deep state trying to intimidate and scare them into obedience and make examples out of them for others to see. And this is a battle for the very soul of our democracy in Israel. And it mirrors what we're seeing in the United States as well. Just listen to how nominee for FBI Director Kash Patel explains the situation in the United States of America.
Look, the FBI has become the police state. America does not have a single-tier system of justice. America cannot lecture the rest of the world on how good our judiciary is. Our judiciary and the FBI are corrupt criminal gangsters, and they have put it on full display. You need look no further than Chris Wray's FBI, which essentially said, we fixed everything, so if we were in power back then, none of this would have happened. That might be the biggest lie to come out of any government gangster's mouth since Hillary Clinton. And that is part of the cover-up. They've already started to work with the fake news. They're saying, oh, we learned our lesson. That's why nobody needs to get prosecuted. And since we were selectively targeting Donald Trump, it doesn't matter because we were trying to save America when they were actually breaking the laws, you said, committing insurrection acts by trying to overthrow a duly elected president in Donald Trump and subvert democracy by ruining his administration, not just with Russiagate, but with everything else that came after that. The Steele dossier was the basic roadmap to how they kept doing it version after version, all the way to Hunter Biden's laptop and the 51 Intel letter. And they're never going to stop. You're right, because the politicians in Washington, D.C., even the Republicans, want to be best friends with the FBI and the administrative state so they can get paid when they get out of government.
The situations are exactly similar. A corruption of law enforcement and the justice system abusing their power against the voice of the people and our elected officials. In America, President Trump just made a bold move to showing that he wants to dismantle the American deep state by nominating Kash Patel as FBI director. Patel has a detailed plan to expose the corruption within the FBI, the justice system, and the weaponization of classified documents that they do to hide their crimes. Just listen to this.
First of all, you walk in on day one and you fire literally everyone that was part of that deep state bureaucracy.
All right.
Every single person. It'll be thousands and thousands and thousands. And nobody has had the guts to do that. But President Trump will. Then you replace them with the bench we have.
Hold on, hang on. How do you fire these guys? I thought these bureaucrats, they were like crabgrass. You can't get rid of them.
No. This is the biggest scam in government. When I was at DNI and I was a deputy director and Rick Grinnell was running DNI, we fired 10% of that workforce straight out, sent them home, cut their billets. There are ways to do it. Don't believe anybody that says, oh, these guys are in for life. That is not how the United States federal government works. That is how the deep state has taught the mainstream media to lie to you about these positions. And it's top to bottom. And there are, as Steve knows this, there are people to fill an entire Trump presidency the next go around. Yes, there were errors in personnel for sure, the first administration. But they trusted government.
Were there any mistakes in personnel?
But a little bit. Well, that's because Bannon wasn't picking all the appointees. But that's going to change.
And now, listen to this.
What do you do about the FBI? What does President Trump, or what should he do about the FBI when he gets into office? Because I got to believe these agents, many of them are dug in deep.
Look, one of my biggest personal recommendations is you shut down the FBI headquarters building and open it up the next day as the Museum of the Deep State. And you send those 7,000 agents in the headquarters building downrange to chase down rapists, to chase down murderers, to chase down drug traffickers, and let the cops be cops on the streets across America. You keep a small contingent in Washington, D.C. That's step one. You get rid of half of the legion of lawyers and special counsels that exist within the FBI to do one thing, to corrupt and obstruct government oversight from constitutionally applicable committees in Congress. And another aspect of it real quick is one of the biggest institutions in the FBI that has been troubled and politicized and weaponized has been their intel component. We have an intel agency. sovereignty. I don't need it to be redone within the walls of the FBI. We've shown when we've given them that power what they do to it. They unlawfully surveil a president and his candidate. So those are three quick things that we could rattle off. That would be my recommendation to reform the FBI. There's many more.
Unbelievable. That's what he plans to do first day of office. Now I want you to think about this. Israel's deep state and the United States deep state also have some connection. Throughout this existential war that we're fighting since October 7th, 2023, I had been updating you about the leaks from senior IDF and intelligence officials to the press, from secret war cabinet meetings and negotiation to free our captives meetings, all aimed at using the establishment media to create public pressure to stop the war and make Israel look bad. One can think, and make Netanyahu look bad, one can think that it is all a coincidence that all these messages that were leaked all happen to follow the exact talking points from the Biden administration. Or one can deduce that it's not a coincidence at all. Or, and how about the campaign from the Biden administration through this war focusing on settler violence pushed by the establishment media in the US and also in Israel, as well as being pushed by Israel's Secret Service as well? All this after the horrific atrocities of our Islamo-Nazi enemies on October 7th and us fighting an existential war on 7 fronts. All of a sudden, our Secret Service, pushed by the establishment media, just happy to copy the messaging from the Biden administration and the U.S. establishment media that the biggest threat to the Middle East is settler violence? Are they so disconnected from the world? No, that's the deep state narrative. To me, it is clear that some of Israel's top military and intelligence officials are taking their cues from the American deep state. And this has been happening probably for years and decades, but now definitely since the first day that Netanyahu has been trying to fight this war. Against the directives, threats, and arms embargoes of the Biden administration, Netanyahu has succeeded in overcoming it all, even though it's been coordinated with some of Israel's most senior security and intelligence staff. That is the reason why Netanyahu fired Defense Minister Gallant a few weeks ago, because Gallant was acting as a puppet of the Biden administration, trying to stop each step of the war effort in Gaza and then in Lebanon, according to the Biden administration's orders. It's insane, but the senior IDF and Secret Service command were against the unbelievable, miraculous, targeted James Bond-like beeper walkie-talkie attack on Hezbollah terrorists that changed the war. The IDF chief of staff laughed at it, calling it an operation of toys. And security officials leaked the operation to the Israeli press the night before it in order to try to stop it. Do you think the Attorney General ordered for the investigation of any senior IDF or intelligence staff for leaking that seriously damaging information about an operation that was about to happen the next day that harms Israel's security? No investigation has been opened up about that leak. Instead of focusing on destroying Hamas, throughout the war, senior officials of this deep state have continuously leaked secret information to the media, trying to pressure Netanyahu and the government, making them look bad and undermining our war effort. Sound familiar? It's the same playbook the American deep state has been using against Trump and the American people, controlling the narrative via the establishment media, suppressing the truth, and protecting their power at all costs, and trying to get rid of Netanyahu here in Israel, just as they've been trying to get rid of Trump in America. Just listen to what Kash Patel says to all those who deny the existence of a deep state in the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission together, and I'm asking you to join our mission tonight and fight for Donald J. Trump. And that mission is going to see him enter the White House on January 20th, because we are going to deliver the truth to the American people and the American voters that have been deprived of the truth for so many years. And our biggest enemy against that truth is the deep state. And we are on a mission to annihilate the deep state. And when the mainstream media and the Washington bureaucrats tell you there is no deep state, you tell them the following. You tell them then who are the ones in 2016 that used illegal campaign finance dollars from the Hillary Clinton campaign to go overseas and hire a foreign asset to create a fake dossier, only to have that dossier served up to the FBI so that they could lie to a federal court to be illegally surveilling Donald J. Trump. That's the deep state. And when they tell you that was a one-off, our intelligence communities aren't weaponized, you remind them that Christopher Wray, the FBI director, illegally surveilled 275,000 Americans in 1 year alone. That is a weaponization of justice and intelligence against you guys. And when you tell them, oh, they'll tell you that was another one-off. Well, then you go ahead and you talk to them about impeachment 1 and impeachment 2. And you tell them that they used an intelligence asset in the intel community to fabricate evidence against Donald J. Trump about Ukraine so that he could be impeached unlawfully. They weaponized intelligence yet again. That's the deep state and the corporate media back there that has been lying to you and robbing us of the truth. And they'll tell you that won't happen again. So what you do is you continue to impeachment 2. And you talk to them about the January 6th insurrection disinformation campaign. I was chief of staff of the Department of Defense and in the Oval Office days before January 6th when our brave President Donald J. Trump authorized 10,000+ National Guardsmen and women, only to have Nancy Pelosi and Mayor Bowser reject that authorization. And when you tell that, when they tell you, oh, that didn't really happen, you press play on the video that Nancy Pelosi made in the bowels of the Capitol on January 6th when she was too busy making a movie where she admitted she was responsible for the security failures at the Capitol. That is the hardcore truth, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to deliver it to everyday Americans. You guys are the conveyor belts of the truth. You are going to put this mission first and watch Donald J. Trump take back this White House. And they'll tell you, oh, forget January 6th, forget impeachment 1, impeachment 2. They'll say, forget Russiagate. They'll say, none of that ever happened. That's just a distortion of reality. Well, then you tell them that the election rig from the last cycle, from the Washington deep state, the biggest con job in modern election history when they had 51 intelligence officials, including a Secretary of Defense, 2 CIA directors, an NSA director, and a slew of other people, write a letter they knew was a total fabrication a week before the last election to rob you of the truth and tell you Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. You know and I know it was a reality, and it's not a Republican or Democratic thing. It's a uniparty swamp monster thing. People like Bill Barr and Gina Haspel pushed that letter out even though they knew it was a total lie because they wanted to kneecap our duly elected president. So you have to go out there and deliver this message to our community, and the truth will see Donald Trump ushered into the White House. But we got 12 days to take this mission to the moon and back. And then they'll tell you, oh, that's never going to happen again. We got to vote for Kamala Harris. And let me bring this thing home where it really hurts me the most as a member of the civilian service of our Department of Defense. We saw the disastrous Afghan withdrawal where 13 brave warriors were blown up by a suicide bomber that Harris let out of Bagram Detention Center, only to have Joe Biden check the watch on the flight line of the dignified transfer. Kamala Harris has had 1,300 days to call the 13 families. The only guy I know that spent hours with every one of those families is Donald J. Trump.
The bottom line is, just as President Trump is planning to fight to clean house in America, we need Netanyahu to do the same thing here in Israel. It's time that the expose of the corruption in our secret service and justice system be made for all to see, and that we dismantle the power of the unelected deep state and restore true democracy of the people. It's the same problem, different countries, same solution for both of our countries: accountability and justice. The good news is this: people are waking up. More Israelis are waking up, more Americans are waking up and realizing the truth about the existence of these deep states. With greater awareness comes greater strength. This awakening makes it easier for our elected officials to stand up to the deep state without fearing its wrath or abuse of power. It's much easier for Trump than it is for Netanyahu in Israel. So the fight is far from over in both of our countries. The deep state is still strong, and the problem is they will stop at nothing to hold on to their power and stop their corruption from being totally exposed. That is why they've been trying to take down Trump and also take down Netanyahu for close to 30 years. Since he first became prime minister in the mid-90s, it hasn't stopped. Just like trying to take down Trump hasn't stopped, because they go against the deep states. That is why here in Israel, they still have not yet investigated the senior defense and intelligence officials who withheld information and warnings from the government and Netanyahu that could have stopped the October 7th massacre. Even the warnings from the night before that hundreds of Islamo-Nazi terrorists in Gaza put in Israeli SIM cards in their phones, they did not escalate that information. That should have been a red light warning that would have helped them prepare to stop the massacre. That is why they have a gag order on this spy who entered a secret IDF base on the morning of October 7th, 2023. And they still have not let the public know what information that spy took or who he transferred that information to. They're not even prosecuting him. It's totally under gag order. That's how they classify information and hide it from the public to hide their corruption. That is why the Attorney General's office and Secret Service are only investigating those officials who share information with the Prime Minister's office that the deep state within the security and intelligence offices and the Attorney Generals were withholding and not escalating. What we're witnessing and experiencing is a silent coup of the deep state here in Israel, trying to take down all officials who stop following their orders and put the fear of God and scare anyone else from daring to do anything against their agenda. Folks, we need your prayers. We need your voices. We need your support. This is a battle for the future of freedom in both Israel and the United States. Again, this is Avi Abelo. Pulse of Israel. The trajectory is positive. The wake-up process is positive. But the time to act is now. Together, we can take down these corrupt systems and ensure a future built on truth and justice by sharing the truth and talking about it. Thank you for being part of this journey and helping me share this information with you. So stay informed, stay positive, help me share these videos with this information that it really isn't getting anywhere else. Strengthen your faith in the one above and stay hopeful. The deep state's days are numbered. Let's pray for each other and pray for our leaders to have the courage to do what must be done. And why am I positive? Because a deep state only succeeds when it is deep, when no one sees what it's doing. With each day, they are exposing themselves more and more, meaning they're in the fight for their life to survive, and more people are learning about it. They're not deep anymore. They're exposed and exposing themselves more every day. They're not able to succeed when they're exposed. They only succeed when they're deep. So they're still powerful. They can still do damage, but they're on their way down. And we, the people, are on our way up. Place faith in the one above and faith in us, we the people. You in America, you in every country in the world, because there's a deep state in every single country, and us in Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. If you're not yet a subscriber to my daily belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect videos about Israel, the Jewish people, and the freedom-loving world, what are you waiting for? Go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. And we are a donor-based organization. We need your support. We're heavily shadow banned and censored across all social media. But you can follow us by subscribing, following the daily updates on WhatsApp, following our daily updates on Telegram. Those are the two most secure places, even though WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, so Telegram's better, but most people are on WhatsApp. In any case, stay connected, follow us, and we need your financial support as well. Every once in a while, click on the donate button on pulseofisrael.com. Signing off for another episode here on Ancestral Homeland in our beautiful, indigenous, biblical, and undivided capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.